The atomic blimp is based on the Goodyear GZ-20 blimp, manufactured by Goodyear Aerospace, the aeronautics subsidiary of the tire company Goodyear, on which Atomic is based on. The atomic blimp bears a heavy resemblance to its real-life counterpart, bearing atomic decals nearly identical to the Goodyear blimp. It is the first controllable blimp in the series, and the second one featured in Grand Theft Auto, after the Gash blimp, and it is also available to fly for those who pre-ordered the game or have collector's editions or the enhanced version. Despite being a blimp, it is quicker and more agile than the vehicle type suggests. The blimp, however, is very weak. Simply bumping into a building or a car will cause the blimp to explode. Unlike most vehicles, the blimp will remain afloat if crashed into the water. When shooting out the pilot, it will play the same sound as the helicopter sound and will interestingly start to turn to the left when going down, similar to how the helicopter will spin out of control when there is no pilot. The atomic blimp, despite being considered an airplane, shares the same control setup and flight style as a helicopter. Pito Bay is located on the lush northern coast of Blaine County, San Andreas. Sitting at the base of the massive Mount Kiliad, Pito Bay is a coastal town home to the Cluck and Bell factory farm, used to process chicken for all of San Andreas to enjoy. The town also has a Los Santos County Sheriff's Department office, and the dense vegetation that grows around the area is a vast contrast of the dry and arid sandy shores. Pito Bay is the typical small-town settlement found in rural areas across America. Pito Bay is much more modernized than other towns in Blaine County, such as Sandy Shores. Pito Bay is filled with corrupt local police who are known to cheat the local residents out of their money through the Blaine County Savings Bank. Pito Bay contains other elements of inland Southern Californian towns such as Gorman and Somas, and some buildings are directly influenced by their real-life counterparts in towns such as Lamont, Fillmore, and Piru. Pito is a Spanish slang word for redneck. Many of the businesses in the town appear to be run down and permanently closed. One of the closed stores has a note on their door blaming the 2008 recession for closing their business. The Pagani Osiris is a two-door hypercar featured in Grand Theft Auto 5. The Osiris is heavily based on the Pagani Huayra, while its front end resembles the LaFerrari. The rear lights and main spoiler design take heavy influence from the Pagani Zonda as well as the Pagani Huayra, with the distinctively large humps on the rear with exhaust system built into the center. The interior of the car is shared with the Vaca, itself being a derivative of the one used in the Banshee. The same silver Pagasi logo can be seen on the horn cap. Osiris is the name of the god of death in Egyptian mythology, further referencing the Huayra, whose name is based on Huayratata, an Andean wind god. When the player turns on the lights, it also illuminates the front Pagasi logo on the car. The same occurs with the Cheetah, Turismo R, and the Casco. If a player tries to exit an overturned Osiris, explosive charges on the door hinges will blow the gull-wing doors off, allowing the player to leave the vehicle. This also occurs with the Sterling GT. When the turbo is added in Los Santos Customs, a unique blow-off sound is heard when changing gears. Lacy Jonas is very famous for her work in high school movies. She is full of herself, seeing herself as a role model for teenagers. She is very image conscious, to the point of exiling herself from her parents and spending a lot of money on voice coaching to help her lose her regional accent. The media and her fans are also extremely obsessed about her, with Lacy claiming that one photo of her can reach a six-figure price and that the autobiography of her gynecologist was the best-selling fiction and non-fiction book of 2010. Lacy says that she has so many fans that they could fill the entire country of Africa, including one fan who sent his own junk to her in a box. Her in-game face model is also used for Carrie McIntosh in GTA 5 and is also shared by certain NPCs who can be found around the rich parts of Los Santos. Sometimes, when using a cab as any protagonist, the driver may claim that Lacy once sniffed 6 lines of cocaine in the back seat of his cab. It was reported that American actress Lindsay Lohan had filed a lawsuit against Rockstar Games for using her likeness as the basis for the Lacy Jonas character without her permission. Donald Percival is an ex-Navy SEAL lieutenant general who founded Merryweather in 2003 using money from a coup in Western Africa. He floated Merryweather on the Bossack Stock Exchange in 2010, and is expanding domestic operations to appease shareholder demand. Percival is also lobbying the US government for a new war in the Middle East, Asia, Africa or France to help turn the economy around. His former rank is listed as Lieutenant General, but his branch was the United States Navy, which housed the Navy SEALs, which does not have lieutenant generals. The appropriate rank is Vice Admiral. Don Percival is mentioned sometimes during the events of GTA Online. In the Doomsday Heist, which takes place in 2017, Percival remains an unseen character. He remains CEO of Merryweather, and is good friends with one of his clients, tech mogul Avon Hertz. Percival is based on Eric Prince, the founder and former CEO and chairman of Blackwater Worldwide, now Academy. prince was himself a former SEAL who served with SEAL Team 8 from approximately 1993 to 1995. The Khanjali is depicted as a modern light tank with a similar build to the Rhino tank, but using what appears to be a stealth body. The tank appears to be based on the PL-01 Polish light tank, evident by the overall shape and purpose. The front of the hull uses various modern lamps on the center and on the edges, while the top area assumes a wedge-shaped profile with access hatches for the driver and a front occupant. The sides have various armor panelings covering most of the tracks. Unlike the Rhino, the Khanjali features fully rendered interiors. The front compartments have several instruments and display screens derived from vehicles like the FH-1 Hunter and the Eola. The vehicle is equipped with a tank cannon and a remote machine gun turret resembling a Browning M2 HB-50 caliber machine gun. The Khanjali has the same durability as the Rhino in stock form. However, armor upgrades can prove to be extremely beneficial for the vehicle, allowing it to survive nearly twice the amount of explosives than the Rhino. A Khanjali is a type of double-edged dagger with a single offset groove on each face of the blade. The vehicle would have originally been named Panther at some point during development. One large advantage of the Khanjali over the Rhino is that it can reliably crush and drive over cars without them exploding due to the lighter weight, which won't cause self-damage and allow the Khanjali to be used without having to worry about explosions from other cars crushed under the tank. The tank is powered by 2 diesel engines, and the engine sound is the same as the ones from the Phantom Custom and the Hauler Custom. The Khanjali has access to a variety of weapons that are assigned to each occupant, making a devastating vehicle when fully occupied. The vehicle has the option for installing proximity mines, which behave the same as any remote explosive and are operated by the driver. These mines are a bit stronger than their handheld counterparts and are also limited to 5 active mines. Caution should be taken when using it, as it can potentially damage or destroy the vehicle. Mrs. Phillips is the mother of Trevor Phillips and appears in a Strangers and Freaks side mission. She was once a prostitute and stripper. It is implied in the game that Mrs. Phillips was both abusive and neglectful towards Trevor, rarely paying attention to him and verbally chastising and demeaning him. Mrs. Phillips was sentenced to jail for an unknown amount of time. It also remains unknown of what she was sentenced for, but it could possibly be drugs, as Mrs. Phillips appears to be addicted to the drug dilutamol, since she asks Trevor to steal an entire truck full of it. She mentions that Trevor never wrote or visited her during her stay in prison, much to her disappointment. The only appearance she makes is during the Strangers and Freaks mission. Mrs. Phillips after completing the storyline, If Trevor is Kept Alive. Mrs. Phillips looks like she could be in her late 70s and has short red hair. She wears a leopard printed shirt with a big black belt around her belly and pink leggings. She also wears multiple accessories like a chain, earrings, and bracelets. She bears a noticeable resemblance to Peggy Bundy from Married with Children, as both wear similar clothing and have red hair. Mrs. Phillips has a faint English accent, becoming more apparent as her conversation with Trevor goes on, possibly suggesting she was born in England and migrated over to Canada before her children were born. Her English accent may very likely be a reference to Stephen Ogg's mother, who is English. Theoretically, Mrs. Phillips is one of the few people that Trevor genuinely loves and cares about. This is shown when Trevor mutters and even cries to her in shame and guilt when she reveals her disappointment in him. In an interview for Playboy magazine, Sam Hauser revealed that his mother, the British actress Geraldine Moffat, made a performance for the game. However, she was uncredited. It is suspected that she portrayed Mrs. Phillips. This would explain her English accent. If the player manages to enter Michael's house as Trevor and speaks to Amanda, she may sarcastically ask, "How's your mother, Trevor?" The Eola name first appears in GTA Vice City stories in the form of red non-interactive vending machines scattered throughout Vice City. Eola has been founded in the late 19th century, and to have used cocaine as an ingredient before substituting this with sugar. This mirrors the history of Coca-Cola, which was founded in the late 19th century, 1886, and used to contain cocaine, as it was originally intended as a medicinal product. The brand name is a play on both the E. coli bacteria and the Ebola virus. The company's slogan states that the drink is deliciously infectious, which could suggest that the soft drink is contaminated, or more likely, that it is highly addictive, a reference to Coca-Cola once containing cocaine. The color and style of the Eola logo is an obvious caricature of Coca-Cola's logo. However, it does share some basic similarities with the Pepsi and Orangina logos as well. The Eola Light variant is also based on either Diet Coke or Coke Zero. The Eola glass bottles in the vending machines bear resemblances to older Dr. Pepper glass bottles.